The Yakuza, a notorious criminal organization based in Japan, has captured the imaginations of people around the world. Known for their strict code of conduct, their brutal tactics, and their cultural significance, the Yakuza have become the subject of countless books, movies, and television shows. But who are the Yakuza, and how did they come to be? The Yakuza can trace their origins back hundreds of years, to a time when Japan was ruled by powerful samurai clans. These clans often hired mercenaries, known as ronin, to provide extra muscle. Over time, these ronin formed their own groups and became known as takiya, or street vendors. The takiya were known for their street smarts and their willingness to use violence to protect their turf. In the early 1600s, the shogunate, or military government of Japan, attempted to bring order to the takiya and other criminal organizations. They created a licensing system that allowed certain groups to operate legally in exchange for paying taxes and providing security services. These licensed groups became known as Yakuza. Over time, the Yakuza developed their own culture, with a strict code of conduct and a hierarchy that mirrored that of the samurai. They were known for their elaborate tattoos, which often depicted scenes from Japanese folklore, as well as their use of symbolism and secret hand gestures. Today, the Yakuza continue to operate in Japan and around the world. Their criminal activities include extortion, drug trafficking, and human trafficking. They are also known for their use of violence and intimidation to maintain their power. Despite their criminal activities, the Yakuza have maintained a certain level of cultural significance in Japan. They have been portrayed in countless movies, television shows, and video games, and their influence can be seen in Japanese popular culture. To understand the Yakuza, we must first look to their origins and early history. As we learned in the previous chapter, the Yakuza can trace their roots back to the takiya, or street vendors, of feudal Japan. But it wasn't until the 1800s that the Yakuza as we know them today began to take shape. During this time, Japan was undergoing a period of rapid modernization and social change. The samurai class was being disbanded, and new opportunities were emerging for people from all walks of life. It was in this environment that the Yakuza began to flourish. The early Yakuza were organized around local bosses known as oyabun, who were often former takiya. These bosses would recruit members, known as kobun, and establish a hierarchical structure. This structure was modeled after that of the samurai, with strict rules and rituals that governed every aspect of Yakuza life. In the early years, the Yakuza were involved in a range of activities, from gambling and prostitution to protection rackets and loan sharking. They provided services that were in demand in the rapidly changing society of the time, and they used their reputation for violence and intimidation to protect their interests. Over time, the Yakuza grew more powerful and more organized. They began to establish themselves as a force to be reckoned with, both in the criminal underworld and in mainstream Japanese society. They developed a reputation for honor and loyalty, and they even began to offer social services, such as disaster relief and scholarships. But with this power came greater scrutiny from law enforcement and the general public. The Yakuza were frequently targeted by police, and their criminal activities were often exposed in the media. Despite this, the Yakuza continued to thrive, adapting to changing circumstances and finding new ways to maintain their power. Today, the Yakuza continue to operate in Japan and around the world. While their criminal activities have become more sophisticated, their structure and code of conduct remain largely the same. They continue to be a powerful force in Japanese society, with a cultural significance that cannot be ignored.
The Yakuza have a strict code of conduct that governs every aspect of their lives. This code is known as the Yakuza's way of life or the Ninkyo-do, and it is based on the principles of loyalty, honor, and respect. In this chapter, we will explore the code of the Yakuza and how it shapes their behavior. At the heart of the Yakuza's code of conduct is the principle of loyalty. The Yakuza value loyalty above all else, and they expect their members to be fiercely devoted to their bosses and their organization. This loyalty is expressed through a strict hierarchy that governs every aspect of Yakuza life. The Yakuza hierarchy is modeled after the traditional structure of the samurai, with strict rules and rituals that govern every aspect of Yakuza life. At the top of the hierarchy is the oyabun, or boss, who is responsible for the overall direction of the organization. Below the Oyabun are the Kaban, or underlings, who are expected to be loyal and obedient to their bosses. The Yakuza also place a great deal of emphasis on honor and respect. They have a strict code of conduct that governs their behavior and sets them apart from other criminal organizations. For example, the Yakuza are known for their practice of cutting off a finger as a sign of apology or failure. This practice, known as yubitsum, is a symbol of the Yakuza's commitment to honor and respect. Another important aspect of the Yakuza's code of conduct is their use of rituals and traditions. The Yakuza have a rich cultural heritage, and they place great importance on maintaining their traditions and customs. These rituals and traditions include everything from ceremonies to mark the initiation of new members, to the use of specific tattoos that symbolize membership in the organization. But while the Yakuza are known for their strict code of conduct, they are also infamous for their use of violence and intimidation. They use their reputation for violence to protect their interests and maintain their power, and they are not afraid to use force when necessary. Despite their reputation for violence and criminal activity, the Yakuza are deeply ingrained in Japanese culture. They have been the subject of countless books, movies, and television shows, and their influence can be seen in everything from fashion to music. But the Yakuza's influence extends far beyond popular culture. They have also played a significant role in Japanese politics and business, with many prominent politicians and business leaders believed to have ties to the Yakuza. One of the primary sources of income for the Yakuza is extortion. They use their reputation for violence to extort money from businesses and individuals, often targeting small businesses and vulnerable populations. This practice is known as sakeya, and it has been a part of Yakuza culture for generations. The Yakuza are also heavily involved in the drug trade. They control a significant portion of Japan's illegal drug market, and they are known to work with other criminal organizations to smuggle drugs into the country. The Yakuza's involvement in the drug trade has had a devastating impact on Japanese society, fueling addiction and contributing to rising crime rates. Another major source of income for the Yakuza is money laundering. They use their extensive networks and business connections to launder money for other criminal organizations, including international drug cartels. The Yakuza's involvement in money laundering is a serious threat to Japan's financial system, as it undermines the integrity of the country's banks and financial institutions. The Yakuza are also involved in a variety of other criminal activities, including human trafficking, prostitution, and arms trafficking. They have been known to exploit vulnerable populations, such as women and children, for profit. These activities have had a devastating impact on the lives of those involved, and they highlight the darker side of Yakuza culture. Despite their criminal activities, the Yakuza remain deeply embedded in Japanese society. They have established themselves as a powerful force in Japanese politics and business, and they continue to operate with relative impunity. However, the Japanese government has taken steps to crack down on Yakuza activity in recent years, passing laws that make it easier to prosecute Yakuza members and dismantle their organizations. The Yakuza are a complex and multifaceted organization with a rich cultural heritage and a long history of criminal activity. While they have played an important role in Japanese society for centuries, their criminal activities have had a devastating impact on the country's economy and social fabric. Over the past few decades, the Yakuza have faced increasing pressure from the Japanese government and law enforcement agencies, leading many to question whether the Yakuza will be able to survive in the modern era. One of the major challenges facing the Yakuza is the changing nature of Japanese society. As Japan becomes more integrated into the global economy and society, the traditional values and practices of the Yakuza are becoming less relevant. Younger generations are less interested in joining the Yakuza, and their criminal activities are viewed as increasingly outdated and harmful. Another challenge facing the Yakuza is the increasing scrutiny from law enforcement agencies. The Japanese government has passed a series of laws aimed at cracking down on Yakuza activity, making it easier to prosecute Yakuza members and dismantle their organizations. This has resulted in a significant decline in the Yakuza's power and influence. Despite these challenges, The Yakuza have shown a remarkable ability to adapt and evolve. They have diversified their business interests, moving into legitimate industries such as construction, finance, and real estate. They have also sought to build alliances with other criminal organizations around the world, expanding their reach and influence. Another way the Yakuza have adapted to the changing landscape is by adopting a more low-key approach to their activities. They have become more discreet, avoiding the flashy displays of wealth and violence that were once a hallmark of Yakuza culture. This has allowed them to operate more quietly, avoiding the attention of law enforcement agencies. However, the future of the Yakuza remains uncertain. While they have adapted to the changing landscape, they still face significant challenges from both within and outside their organizations. The decline in traditional Yakuza values and practices has led to increased infighting and division, weakening the overall strength of the Yakuza. Additionally, the Yakuza are facing increased competition from other criminal organizations, both in Japan and around the world. These organizations are often more sophisticated and better organized than the Yakuza, posing a significant threat to their continued existence. In conclusion, the future of the Yakuza is uncertain. While they have shown a remarkable ability to adapt and evolve, they still face significant challenges from both within and outside their organizations. Only time will tell whether the Yakuza will be able to survive in the modern era, or if they will become relics of a bygone age. In this final chapter, we will examine the legacy of the Yakuza. Over the centuries, the Yakuza have played a significant role in Japanese society and culture, shaping the country's history and leaving a lasting impact on its people. One of the most enduring legacies of the Yakuza is their code of honor, known as the Yakuza Way. This code emphasizes loyalty, respect, and discipline, and has been passed down from generation to generation of Yakuza members. It has become a part of Japanese popular culture, inspiring countless movies, TV shows, and books. Another lasting legacy of the Yakuza is their role in Japan's economic development. The Yakuza were instrumental in building many of Japan's major infrastructure projects, such as highways and bridges, and played a key role in the country's post-war reconstruction. However, the Yakuza's influence has not always been positive. They have been responsible for countless acts of violence, extortion, and other criminal activities, causing significant harm to Japanese society. Their involvement in the sex industry and drug trafficking has also had a devastating impact on countless individuals and communities. Despite these negative aspects, the Yakuza have left an indelible mark on Japanese society and culture. Their code of honor, their role in Japan's economic development, and their influence on popular culture have all contributed to their enduring legacy. As the Yakuza face an uncertain future, it is important to reflect on their legacy and what it means for Japan and the world. While their criminal activities should never be condoned, their contributions to Japanese culture and society cannot be ignored. In conclusion, the legacy of the Yakuza is complex and multifaceted. While their criminal activities have caused significant harm, their code of honor, role in Japan's economic development, and influence on popular culture have left a lasting impact on Japanese society and culture. It is up to future generations to grapple with this legacy and determine what it means for the future of Japan and the world.